The Art of Silence, 10 Stoic Lessons. Silence is not just the absence of speech. It is a tool for self-mastery, wisdom, and resilience. The Stoics understood that choosing when to speak and when to remain silent can determine the course of our lives. Lesson 1. The Power of Restraint. Words, once spoken, cannot be undone. Restraint in speech prevents unnecessary conflicts. Silence allows time for emotional processing and rational thinking. Practicing pauses before speaking, journaling thoughts instead of verbalizing them. The irreversibility of words. Once a word is spoken, it cannot be taken back. This simple truth has a profound impact on how we engage with the world. Words can build or destroy relationships, shift the course of events, and even define one's reputation. In Stoic thought, the idea that our speech is irreversible is a constant reminder that we must choose our words wisely. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus often reminded his students that they should be mindful of what they say because words are like arrows shot from a bow. They cannot be retrieved once released. Every word we speak has consequences, and the power of speech can shape our lives in ways we may not even foresee. For example, in a heated argument, a moment of anger can cause us to lash out with hurtful words. These words may temporarily relieve frustration, but they can leave lasting damage to relationships that might take years to heal, or may never heal at all. This is why restraint in speech is one of the most valuable tools a Stoic can use. By mastering silence, we preserve our relationships, safeguard our dignity, and avoid unnecessary regret. Silence as a tool for conflict resolution. One of the most powerful ways to defuse a potentially volatile situation is by choosing silence over impulsive reaction. When someone is angry or disrespectful, the natural inclination is often to retaliate, to defend oneself, or to prove one's point. However, the Stoics knew that engaging in such exchanges typically escalates conflict rather than resolving it. The act of speaking in the heat of the moment may feel satisfying in the short term, but it is almost always counterproductive. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher and statesman, said that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This speaks to the idea that much of our emotional turmoil comes from what we expect to happen if we engage, rather than from any actual consequence. Often, silence in the face of provocation forces the other person to confront their own behavior and reflects their emotional state back onto them. Consider a scenario where someone insults you. In that moment, silence is a powerful response. By not reacting immediately, you create space for calm reflection. The other person might expect you to react, and when you don't, they may be forced to reconsider their approach. The key here is to maintain emotional control, which is exactly what the Stoics taught. By not engaging in verbal conflict, you are not only protecting yourself from potential harm, but also keeping the moral high ground. The pause, giving yourself time to reflect. One of the core Stoic practices is the idea of the pause. This pause is the space between stimulus, something happens, and response, how we choose to react. By training ourselves to pause, especially before speaking, we allow our emotions to settle, and we give our rational minds the time needed to assess the situation calmly. This pause, however, is not just about silence for its own sake. It is about cultivating emotional intelligence. Instead of automatically reacting to external stimuli, a Stoic pause allows us to assess whether a response is needed, whether it will be constructive, and what the potential consequences of that response might be. For example, if someone criticizes your work, instead of rushing to explain or defend yourself, you could take a few seconds to reflect on whether their feedback is valid. You might even choose to ask questions rather than immediately respond. This brief pause offers emotional clarity and ensures that your response is thoughtful, rather than a knee-jerk reaction based on hurt feelings or ego. Silence as a means of rational thinking in a world that often prioritizes speed and immediate responses, silence becomes a vital tool for rational thinking. The practice of silence creates the space needed to step away from emotional impulses and enter a realm of clear-headed decision-making. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, frequently practiced quiet reflection to process his emotions and thoughts. In his meditations, he wrote about the importance of taking a step back and allowing oneself to be still. He often sought silence in order to make decisions not influenced by the external chaos of his position, but rather guided by internal wisdom. The Stoics believe that our emotions, while natural, should not govern our actions. They are signals, important, but not definitive. Silence enables us to process those signals before allowing them to dictate our behavior. By giving ourselves a moment of stillness, we create the mental and emotional distance needed to reflect on the rational course of action. This prevents us from being swayed by knee-jerk emotional responses and allows us to respond in alignment with our values. 5 practical exercises. Cultivating the art of silence. If you want to incorporate the power of restraint into your life, here are some simple exercises you can practice. The pause before speaking. Before speaking, take a brief pause to reflect. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this true? Is this helpful? If the answer to any of these questions is no, reconsider whether you need to speak at all. Journaling. If you find that your thoughts are too scattered or emotionally charged to express clearly, try journaling instead of verbalizing them. Writing allows you to process your emotions, refine your thoughts, and gain clarity. Engage in active listening. In conversations, practice active listening rather than preparing to speak. This builds your ability to understand the other person's perspective before responding. Silent reflection. Set aside time each day to be in complete silence, whether through meditation, quiet contemplation, or simply being present with your thoughts. This helps you build mental clarity and emotional balance. Conclusion. The mastery of silence. The Stoic practice of restraint, especially in speech, is not about suppressing one's voice or avoiding communication altogether. Instead, it is about using silence purposefully to preserve emotional stability, maintain control over one's actions, and avoid unnecessary conflict. Silence, when practiced mindfully, becomes an art form, a tool for self-mastery, wisdom, and clarity. By mastering the art of restraint, we choose to respond with intention, rather than reacting impulsively. We cultivate the strength to remain composed in challenging situations, allowing us to navigate life with the calm of a Stoic philosopher. And perhaps most importantly, we protect ourselves from the potential consequences of hasty words that cannot be undone. Lesson 2. Speaking less to say more. The fewer words you use, the more weight they carry. Over-explaining and defending oneself often weakens authority. Historical examples of leaders and philosophers who influence through brevity. Practical exercises. Reducing word count in responses, practicing conciseness in writing, power of brevity. The Stoics believe that speaking too much often weakens the impact of our words. The fewer words we use, the more weight they carry. In an age of constant chatter, the ability to be concise is a rare and valuable skill. Think of the greatest philosophical teachings in history. Many of them are short but profound. For example, Marcus Aurelius' Meditations contains wisdom condensed into brief but impactful thoughts. Similarly, Epictetus often encouraged his students to practice self-restraint in speech, as excessive words tend to cloud the mind rather than clarify it. Why is it that a well-placed silence or a single sentence can have more impact than an entire speech? It's because the human mind values clarity. When we speak concisely, we force ourselves to distill our message down to its essence, making it more memorable and effective. The dangers of over-explaining. Many people feel the need to over-explain, justify, or defend themselves in conversations. This usually stems from insecurity or the desire for approval. However, over-explaining often dilutes the strength of our words and can make us appear uncertain or even weak. Imagine 2 people making the same request. 1. I was wondering if it's okay, like, if I could maybe take next Friday off? I mean, I know you're busy, and I totally understand if it's a problem, but I just thought I'd ask because I have this thing I need to do. 2. I need to take next Friday off. Let me know if there's an issue. The second statement is clear, direct, and confident. The first one, however, is filled with unnecessary words that diminish its impact. This is the power of brevity. When we speak concisely, we communicate authority and clarity. Seneca once said, "Speech is a mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he." If we ramble, hesitate, or over-explain, we reveal our inner doubts. But if we speak with precision, we project confidence and wisdom. Less talking, more observing. The Stoics taught that silence allows us to observe more. When we talk too much, we are focused on expressing ourselves rather than understanding others. However, when we practice restraint in speech, we create space to truly listen and learn. Consider a skilled negotiator. They do not rush to fill silences with words. Instead, they let others speak, watching for signs of uncertainty or hesitation. By observing rather than speaking, they gain the upper hand. Silence also makes people curious. When you speak less, others wonder what you are thinking. This can create an air of mystery and intrigue, making people value your words even more when you do choose to speak. Brevity as a sign of wisdom. Throughout history, many of the most influential leaders have been those who spoke sparingly. Socrates, famous for his ability to guide discussions through short, powerful questions rather than long speeches. Marcus Aurelius. His private reflections, written for himself, are brief but filled with deep wisdom. Napoleon Bonaparte. He was known for giving orders in the shortest, clearest way possible, ensuring they were never misunderstood. A modern example is Steve Jobs, who was a master of minimal communication. When unveiling the first iPhone, he didn't overload his audience with technical jargon. Instead, he said simply, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." The lesson? People remember simple, clear, and powerful messages. Practical exercises to speak less and say more. If you want to develop this Stoic skill, here are some exercises to try. 1. The one-sentence rule. When explaining something, try to condense your message into one strong sentence before elaborating. 2. The power of pausing. Before responding in conversation, take a brief pause to consider whether fewer words would be just as effective. 3. Practice active listening. Instead of preparing your response while the other person is speaking, focus entirely on their words. 4. Write, then edit. When sending messages or emails, write out your response, then cut it down to the essentials. 5. The 3-word response. Challenge yourself to answer questions in just 3 words whenever possible. Conclusion. The strength of fewer words. In a world where people talk endlessly, those who speak with precision are heard the loudest. Mastering the art of concise, impactful speech allows you to command respect, build authority, and avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. The next time you feel the urge to speak excessively, remember, silence holds power. Use it wisely. People respect clarity, not rambling. Brevity forces wisdom. Speak less, say more. That is the Stoic way. Lesson 3. Silence as a mirror. When you say nothing, you reflect back the energy of the other person. Silence forces others to confront their own words and actions. How silence disarms negativity and diffuses tension in arguments. Practical applications. Using silence during conflicts, pausing instead of reacting to criticism. The reflective power of silence. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is a powerful mirror that forces people to confront their own actions, thoughts, and emotions. The Stoics understood that when we withhold speech, we create a reflective space where others must sit with their own words and behavior. This can lead to self-realization, discomfort, or even transformation. Have you ever remained silent when someone expected you to react, only to see them become uneasy, over-explain, or even reconsider their stance? This is the power of silence acting as a mirror. By refusing to engage in unnecessary verbal exchanges, we shift the weight of responsibility back onto the speaker. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." Words, once spoken, cannot be retracted. But silence? Silence forces the other person to hear only their own voice. How silence forces others to face themselves. In every conversation, people unconsciously seek validation, approval, or a reaction. When that reaction doesn't come, they are left alone with their own words. This can be incredibly revealing. Often, people talk to fill the silence, not to express anything meaningful. Examples of silence as a mirror in action. During an argument, instead of immediately responding to an insult, remain silent. The other person will likely start second-guessing their words. When someone boasts, A lack of acknowledgement forces them to consider why they need validation. In a negotiation, silence creates tension, making the other party uncomfortable and more likely to offer concessions. When someone is lying, silence makes them feel exposed, often leading them to over-explain and reveal inconsistencies. Seneca wrote, "A wise man is content with his own thoughts and does not need to fill the air with noise." By not immediately reacting, you give the other person space to hear themselves, sometimes for the first time. Silence in conflict, a tool for disarming negativity. In heated conversations, people often expect an immediate rebuttal. When that doesn't come, the energy of their words is reflected back at them. This can be a disarming experience. For example, if someone yells at you expecting a fight, but you remain calm and silent, their aggression has nowhere to go. Instead of escalating the situation, your silence forces them to either soften their tone or reflect on their behavior. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius practiced this often. When insulted, he would not retaliate with words. Instead, he would let the silence stretch, allowing the insulter to feel the weight of their own negativity. Over time, people learned that their words had no power over him, because he refused to give them power through a reaction. How to use this in everyday life. The next time someone insults or provokes you, do not respond immediately. Observe their reaction. If someone gossips, do not contribute. Watch as they either change the subject or become uncomfortable. When someone is being passive-aggressive, simply look at them without speaking. Their own words will expose them. Silence as a test of character. One of the greatest Stoic practices is the ability to observe without speaking. Why? Because when you remain silent, you can see who people truly are. If someone dominates the conversation, their ego is exposed. If they rush to fill silences with empty words, they reveal insecurity. If they are uncomfortable in your silence, it means they rely on external validation. Silence reveals truth because it removes distractions. It allows you to see beyond words into intentions. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. By speaking less, you hear and see more." Silence and the art of self-control. Mastering silence is not just about controlling speech. It's about controlling yourself. Most people speak out of habit, impulse, or insecurity, but the Stoic learns to resist the urge to fill every gap with words. Instead, they embrace the stillness. Practical exercises to cultivate silence as a mirror. 1. The 1-minute rule. When tempted to respond emotionally, wait for 1 full minute before speaking. 2. Silent conversations. During a discussion, let the other person talk first. Observe what they reveal. 3. Deliberate pauses. When asked a question, take a deliberate pause before answering. This adds weight to your words and makes others more attentive. 4. The no-response test. When insulted or provoked, refuse to react. See how it shifts the dynamic. Conclusion. Becoming a Stoic mirror. Silence, when used intentionally, forces truth to emerge. It reveals the character of others and allows you to remain composed, unaffected, and in control. By practicing silence as a mirror, you will command respect without speaking, disarm negativity, and avoid unnecessary conflicts. Gain deeper insights into people's true nature. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Instead of arguing, defending, or over-explaining, reflect their energy back at them. Lesson 4. Protecting your energy with silence. The Stoic approach to energy management. Your energy is finite. Every word you speak, every argument you entertain, and every reaction you give takes a portion of your mental, emotional, and even physical reserves. The Stoics understood this deeply, which is why they advocated for strategic silence, not as an act of avoidance, but as a form of self-preservation. Epictetus wisely advised, if someone tried to give you the wrong change, you would not accept it. Why then do you accept negative words that drain your energy? Just as we protect our material possessions, we must also safeguard our inner peace. Wasting words on negativity, gossip, or unnecessary conflicts only depletes us. Silence is a shield that guards our mental and emotional well-being. How words can drain you. Every interaction you engage in requires energy. Some interactions replenish you. Deep conversations, meaningful connections, and wise discussions. Others, however, deplete you. Pointless arguments, toxic exchanges, and emotional outbursts. Think about how you feel after. Debating with someone stubborn who refuses to listen. Arguing online with strangers over trivial matters. Defending yourself against someone who has already made up their mind. Explaining yourself repeatedly to people who misunderstand you on purpose. Each of these situations leaves you feeling exhausted, frustrated, and emotionally drained, because your words have been wasted on ears that weren't truly listening. The Stoic approach? Save your energy. Choose silence instead. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You always have the power to have no opinion." Not every argument requires your input. Not every insult needs a response. Your silence is often the strongest statement you can make. The emotional cost of speaking too much. In moments of frustration, anxiety, or anger, the impulse to speak is strong. We feel the urge to vent, complain, defend, or prove ourselves. But once words are spoken, they own us. Over-explaining drains your mental clarity. Reacting emotionally feeds the negativity. Justifying yourself to the wrong people wastes your peace. Seneca observed, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." By choosing silence, we allow ourselves to process emotions internally rather than pouring them into the world, where they can be misunderstood, twisted, or used against us. When to use silence as a defense. Silence is a powerful boundary. It signals that your energy is not available for everything and everyone. Here are situations where silence becomes a form of protection. 1. Dealing with negativity. When someone tries to provoke you, do not engage. Your silence denies them the reaction they seek. 2. Avoiding gossip and drama. By refusing to participate, you remove yourself from toxic cycles. 3. Handling critics and haters. Not everyone deserves a response. Let your actions, not words, speak for you. 4. Preserving energy in arguments. If a debate is going nowhere, disengage. Your peace is worth more than winning. 5. Facing emotional manipulation. People who guilt trip or emotionally blackmail you rely on words to control you. Silence breaks their grip. Exercise. Next time you're pulled into a draining conversation, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? If not, choose silence. The strength of the quiet mind. A person who can remain silent in the face of provocation, negativity, or distractions holds immense power. Their silence is not weakness, it is strength under control. The greatest warriors, thinkers, and leaders throughout history mastered the art of strategic silence. They understood that their greatest power was not in speaking more, but in choosing when to speak and when to hold back. Modern-day examples of silent power. The negotiator who pauses instead of immediately responding, making the other side feel uncertain. The leader who listens carefully before speaking, making every word count. The wise friend who doesn't engage in gossip, but speaks only when necessary. The confident individual who doesn't need to prove themselves with excessive words. The silent versus loud. The loud person reacts emotionally. The silent person responds thoughtfully. The loud person seeks validation. The silent person seeks understanding. The loud person exhausts themselves. The silent person protects their energy. Practical exercises for protecting your energy with silence. 1. The 3-second rule. Before responding in any situation, pause for 3 seconds. This small moment of silence gives you control. 2. The no-response challenge. When someone provokes or criticizes you, practice giving no verbal reaction. Observe how it affects them. 3. The inner check-in. Ask yourself, will speaking right now add value or drain me? If it's the latter, stay silent. 4. The quiet walk exercise. Go for a walk in silence. No music, no distractions. Learn to be comfortable with your own thoughts. 5. The selective speaking rule. For one day, reduce your words by half. Notice how it changes your energy levels. Conclusion. The power of silence as protection. Your energy is precious. Don't waste it on unnecessary words. The Stoic way is to speak only when necessary, engage only where valuable, and protect your inner peace above all else. By using silence wisely, you will avoid pointless conflicts, maintain emotional control, command respect without excessive words, preserve your energy for what truly matters. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Protect your energy. Let silence be your shield. Lesson 5. The power of pauses in conversation. Why silence between words matters. Most people believe that communication is about what you say, but seasoned speakers, leaders, and Stoics understand that how you say something, especially the strategic use of silence, can be even more powerful. A well-placed pause can add weight and gravity to your words, make people listen more attentively, give you time to think before speaking, create discomfort that forces reflection. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "Nature gave us one tongue and two ears so we would listen twice as much as we speak." Pauses allow us to listen better, not only to others but also to ourselves. They give us a chance to consider whether our words are necessary, helpful, or wise. In this lesson, we'll explore the art of the pause and how mastering silence within speech can enhance your communication, influence, and inner peace. Why people fear silence in conversation. For many, silence feels uncomfortable. They rush to fill every gap with words, fearing awkwardness or misunderstanding. This need to constantly speak often leads to saying things they don't mean, over-explaining, interrupting others, appearing nervous or uncertain. This discomfort with silence stems from social conditioning. From an early age, we're taught that long pauses in conversation signal a lack of confidence, awkwardness, a breakdown in communication. But in reality, well-placed silence is a mark of confidence and control. The most powerful speakers know that words need space to breathe. Take great leaders, negotiators, or storytellers. They use pauses to emphasize key points, create tension, and command attention. Silence makes people lean in, anticipating what will come next. The psychological power of pauses. A well-timed pause has psychological effects on both the speaker and the listener. For the speaker, gives time to collect thoughts and avoid impulsive words, enhances credibility by making speech more deliberate, creates an aura of confidence. Only those who are secure in their message can allow silence to exist. For the listener, builds anticipation, making them more engaged, signals that what was just said is important, gives them time to process and absorb the message. Imagine a speaker who rushes through their words without pausing. The listener struggles to keep up, missing key points. Now picture a speaker who inserts strategic pauses. Their words land heavier, deeper, and more memorably. In fact, in public speaking, pauses are often referred to as verbal punctuation. Just as a period or comma organizes a sentence, a pause organizes spoken thoughts. The three types of strategic pauses. 1. The thinking pause, gaining clarity before speaking. Before responding in any conversation, insert a slight pause. This prevents knee-jerk reactions and ensures your words are intentional. Example: instead of immediately replying when someone challenges you, take a deep breath, pause, and then respond. This conveys confidence and thoughtfulness. 2. The emphasis pause, adding weight to key points. Pauses before or after an important statement make it more memorable. Example: instead of saying, "We need to change our approach in order to succeed," try, "We need to change our approach." Pause, "in order to succeed." That moment of silence lets the message sink in. 3. The reflective pause, encouraging the listener to think. This is particularly useful in discussions where you want the other person to reflect on what's been said. Example: instead of filling gaps after asking a question, let the silence linger. People often rush to fill silence with their own thoughts, leading them to reveal more than they intended. Silence in conflict. How pauses that escalate tension. In heated discussions, emotions run high. When two people argue, they often interrupt each other, increasing frustration. The Stoic approach? Introduce silence. When someone is angry, let them finish speaking. Before responding, pause. This breaks the cycle of escalation. A deliberate pause makes the other person more aware of their own emotions, often leading them to calm down. Marcus Aurelius practiced this often. He refused to let others force him into reacting. Instead, he used silence and pauses to remain in control. A simple rule: when emotions rise, slow your speech. When conflict appears, insert more pauses. Using pauses in negotiation and persuasion. Silence is an underrated negotiation tool. A well-placed pause can make the other party feel the need to fill the silence, often revealing more information. Signal that you are carefully considering an offer. Put pressure on the other person to adjust their stance. In sales, skilled negotiators pause after making an offer instead of speaking immediately. This forces the other party to process the proposal, often leading them to concede first. Tip: the next time you negotiate, make your statement, then stop talking. Let the silence do the work. How to develop the habit of pausing. 1. Practice the 2-second rule. Before responding to anything, whether in conversation, email, or text, pause for 2 full seconds. This helps break the habit of impulsive speaking. 2. Read aloud with pauses. Take any passage from a book and read it aloud, inserting deliberate pauses after key ideas. This helps train your brain to feel comfortable with silence. 3. Observe great speakers. Watch speeches by figures like Marcus Aurelius, Winston Churchill, or modern TED speakers. Notice how they use silence to enhance their message. 4. Record yourself speaking. Listen back and notice where you tend to rush. Intentionally add pauses in future conversations. Conclusion: mastering the art of the pause. By integrating intentional silence into your speech, you can speak with more clarity and impact, command more attention and respect, avoid impulsive words that you may regret, influence and persuade with greater effectiveness, stay calm and composed in any situation. Final Stoic thought: let your words be few, but well chosen. Seneca: true mastery of communication isn't about speaking more. It's about knowing when to pause, when to stay silent, and when to speak with purpose. This is the end of the first part of Art of Silence. Thank you for listening. There will be a second part soon. Stay tuned, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So please share, subscribe, and like. It's a click for you, and it means a lot to me, because that way you give me in support for new videos.